Hi everyone, welcome back to Love and Confetti. I'm Danny, and this is my boyfriend ARION. And today's episode is all about
Hi.
toxic friendships. And I guess we can start it off by defining what do you think is a toxic friendship?
I think a toxic friendship is generally a selfish person claiming to be your friend. So, in my experience, I've had maybe a handful of toxic friends before, and they have the tendency to only think about themselves and not be compassionate towards you, not to help you with certain things. When you ask them for help, they try to brush it off, or they try not to even give you any help. They'll make an excuse for something. And yeah, in general, it's always about them first, you last. Not even second, not even third. No, you last. Because it's them first, and then their partners or their boyfriends or girlfriends. And then they just keep talking about their whole lives and what they care about. And it seems like when trying to put you in the picture, like you're not part of their lives, you're not really being cared for. You're just that person that listens to them, and you're not really important to them in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I would classify as a toxic friendship. What about you?
I think generally it's when someone makes you feel worse about yourself or worse when you're with them. Like you feel drained or you feel anxious or you feel stressed by having them as a friend. Like they're kind of like this negative force in your life. So I think that's how I would say that a friendship is toxic. But do you think you've ever been a toxic friend?
I hope not. I mean, maybe I okay, like for example, I'd say maybe there were instances where I was going through a very bad rough time where perhaps I was a little bit toxic because I was only talking about myself. I was only talking about the problems I was going through, and I was not how do you say this? Like I wasn't very involved in my friend's life. I wasn't asking about how my friend was doing as much. I wasn't telling my friend like giving my friend enough advice when he or she needed it. So I feel like yes, perhaps I have been a toxic friend, but during those bad moments, I think like now that I'm in a better place, I'm a much better friend overall. I hope so. And I think it for me it boiled down to where I was in my life and how I was, which affected my behavior towards my friends.
Yeah, I can super relate. I wouldn't say I'm a toxic friend in general. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it also depended on like how I was, during that phase in my life. So, for example, let's say maybe a toxic phase in my life would have been like when I was in law school because I felt like I was in this really small bubble. So, I didn't feel like I had the time to care about other people's problems, and I wasn't really communicating with my friends. And when I did, we'd catch up and stuff like that, and whenever they asked me how I was, I'd say I was stressed. So it wasn't like I was really bringing like positive energy. I wasn't really, I didn't really find myself wanting to be updated with their lives because I was kind of like, I have my problems, I need to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have time to deal
Mm-hmm.
with you. So yeah, I guess there were some moments in my life, maybe also like during, let's say, when I was heartbroken, or like those times when I was like really down. I'd be like the kind of person who would like want to talk about my problems. So it was in a way a bit just like this negative energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So in this episode, we're gonna go over like the signs of like how would you know if a friendship is toxic. So we're gonna give 15 signs of a toxic friendship, and we're gonna give our personal experiences. And after that, we're gonna talk about how toxic friends affect you, how they affect your mental health or your mood or just overall being. And lastly, we're going to talk about, do you cut them off? Do you forgive them? Do you wait for them to change? So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting episode. So, okay, the first sign of a toxic friendship is it's all about them and their problems. So, they call you to talk about their problems, and they talk about it for a full hour, and then when they ask you how you are, it's kind of just really half-hearted and kind of like as a second thought.
No, I totally agree. And I've had friends like that. Like, it's just awful because you want to tell them about your lives. You want to tell them about how, good you're feeling or something positive that happened to you or even something that you're going through that's difficult. And they disregard everything that that you want to say. They just go back to themselves and talk about themselves. And the worst, I will add to this, which I'll explain a little bit, is when they start to ask for advice as if they value your opinion so
Oh my
much.
god. Oh my god.
And the worst thing is that they ask for your advice, they claim to value your opinion, but then they don't heed your advice. They don't actually apply it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they do not do anything about it. So I like to call these friends ask-holes, because they just ask and ask and ask, oh, what do I do with my life? How do I do this? What should I do? Okay, I will do that. I will do that. I will do that. And next thing you know, they didn't do any of the things you just told them to do.
Yep.
And they're back in their same cycle and their same routine. And I don't know, like for me, it's a little bit like, okay, if you're going to just do whatever you want to do, why ask for advice? Why ask for help from your friend who you claim to value your friend's opinion when you're just going to do whatever you feel like doing? So in my opinion, that's a little bit toxic.
Yeah. And this is like just real life scenario. This is mostly when it comes to like their love life. And it's so annoying for them to like talk about their love life, let's say every other day, because, you know, they're in a bad place. You tell them what you think they should do because they're asking you. And, you know, everything you say kind of just goes in one ear out the other. And they're back to the same problem. So for example, they're talking about how bad their relationship is, blah, blah, blah. You're saying break up. They break up, and the next thing you know, they're back together. Like, that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is if you're always telling me the same thing and you have the same problem. You know, like listening and giving advice takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of mental space. And the fact that people kind of just take it and throw it away, that's so annoying.
No, I totally agree. And like what you said, it takes up so much energy. And the worst is like they say they're going to do it. And that's for me like the most insulting, because they say they're going to do it. They say they're going to heed your advice. They're going to practice being better. And they just don't. And they just disregard it in the end.
Yeah.
And they just do whatever they feel like. I have an example. Okay, so I'm not going to name any names here, of course. But one time a friend asked me for advice because she was dating someone, but she had another person at the same time. And I was like, okay, you know, that's not morally correct in general, right? I mean, okay, you're single, you can date multiple people. But the thing is, the one person she was dating was head over heels for her. Like, he was completely like, I love you and everything with her. So I simply told her, you know, you can't continue with this guy. You're going to break his heart. You know, that's a little bit bad. And I swear, she got mad at me. She actually got mad at me and said, you don't know anything about me. How dare you say things like that? And she was asking for advice. And it just, I felt like, okay, why are you getting angry at me? I'm just saying that, you know, this is not correct. You shouldn't be doing these things. So she got super angry at me. And then later on, she tells me that her other friend told her the same thing I said, and that she's going to listen to her other friend. So I'm like, okay, what the hell? So am I even your friend now? Like, do you even like value my advice if it's literally the same advice? So I got very upset about that, and since then I don't really talk to her, because I feel like it's a bit unfair for me. I don't feel like I'm being heard here, and she kind of just like, I don't know, she has a tendency to like lash out at me when I don't deserve it. So I've kind of like push that friendship aside.
What's annoying is like, fine, if you're in a bad place, like I can get that, but I guess my pet peeve there is kind of like there's this defeatist mentality, like a loser mentality. Like I'm really the kind of person where if I have a problem, I think of how to solve it. I don't wallow in my problem. Or, you know, like there are times where you can't help it. Let's say you're heartbroken and you're always like thinking about your heartbreak and stuff. But then for you to like come to me like with all this negative talk a lot, like that's a lot of my time, and like I don't love listening to it. And so I try to help you, but if you're just not gonna listen to it, and then you're gonna come back to me tomorrow with the same problem, asking for the same thing, that's kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah, I feel like there are too many people like that out in the world, and they don't realize it. And even when you point it out to them, like, look, you're being very selfish about these things. You know, you're kind of just doing whatever you want. You're talking to me about yourself, and you don't even ask me about anything. And that's the worst. You point it out to them, and they don't try to improve. So I guess in that scenario, there's only one of two scenarios. It's either they say, okay, I'm sorry, I'll try to improve, or they say, you know, like they give an excuse, a very half-hearted sorry, and then they don't actually improve. So I guess in those two scenarios, you have to actually decide, do you want to keep this friendship or do you want to just move on?
Yeah, I guess this is the kind of friendship where it's very one-sided. So they only come to you when they need you, and after they're done with you, well, like that's it. Okay, second sign of a toxic friendship is they don't respect you or your boundaries. Like if they pressure you, let's say, to do this when it's your day off and you don't really want to, or they ask a lot of favors, they ask to borrow a lot of things, and sometimes it's not that they can't ask, it's just when they ask too much and you kind of feel disrespected in a way when they don't really consider how things affect you. That's crossing boundaries already.
No, and not just respect for your like personal boundaries and everything, but I'd even say personal belongings. Have you ever had a friend who's borrowed something from you and then it comes back completely ruined, completely bad? I'll tell you a little story. So I have a friend. This didn't happen to me. This happened to my other friend. Okay, our mutual friend. So two of my friends. Okay, one of them, she lent this my other friend winter clothes because she was going to somewhere in Europe that was really cold at the time, and she's never traveled to Europe before, and she didn't have any winter clothes. She's lived in the Philippines for many years. So my other friend said, okay, yeah, sure, get as much as you want. So she lent her like boots, jackets, everything. When she came back from her trip, it was completely ruined. And these were like nice boots, nice jackets, everything. As in, like, she went there, she probably got drunk, she probably puked on her boots.
Right.
Okay, she didn't even bother cleaning the boots. The jacket was dirty. It was just a lot of things. And my friend told me about this, and she was really, really upset. And when she told her off, instead of being apologetic, she got angry and said, like, you don't even understand what I'm going through, and you're so hard on me, you're like my mom, stuff like that. So it's like, you're the one who made a mistake here. You're the one who disrespected your friend's belongings, and then you're just getting angry and insulting her. So yeah, my friend told me she was super, super upset about that, and she wouldn't lend her anything anymore since then. And it's very sad, because it's like they've been friends since childhood, and yet it's still like that and in their adult years. So yeah, so I think it's a mixture of both. It's boundaries, it's belongings, it's everything that involves you. If they don't respect anything that is related to you, then I think that's a sign of a big toxic friendship.
Yeah, I've experienced this mostly when it comes to like time, I guess, or resources. Like, for example, one personal experience for me is when my friend was going through like a really hard time, and the moment I woke up, she left me, like, let's say, a long message about her problems or whatever. I reply, and then instantly, like, she asks if she can call me. And like, I just woke up, I want to start my day well, I want to take like a slow morning, and I don't really want to listen to your problems. And it's kind of like that entire phone conversation, I wasn't really talking, I was like groggy, and I didn't want to like listen to that. But then I guess it's also partly my fault, because I didn't express like, hey, I don't have the energy for this now. I kind of like let it happen, but at the same time I also felt like she needed it. But that's the problem, is like I was doing it out of obligation, but I didn't want it. So then it was kind of just like, it was a negative experience for me. And I guess like, because I'm the kind of friend who, like, I'm happy to lend friends things, or like I'm happy to, like, let's say, drive them home. So yeah, I've experienced that.
Yeah, no, I think that's not okay in my books. Like, for me, there needs to be a little boundary, and a little respect for your friend and for your for space. I think that's the most important thing. You need to have space sometimes. Okay, so what's the...
Okay, next is when they're trying to change you. So, for example, when they put you in uncomfortable situations, or they might ask you to like dress or talk or behave differently. So, it's one thing to want a friend to be better, but it's another when they pressure you to be something that you're not.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think I've experienced that as well. Like, like they want you to try things that you don't want to try, for example, smoking, for things like that. And they're just passing it, and they're like, sige na, right? Try it. It doesn't hurt. And I don't know, like, for me, that's not a sign of again, it boils down to respect. You're not respecting your friend for who they are. You just want to mold them into something you want them to be. So I'm against that. I think that you have to have your own identity. You can't be influenced by your friends in a negative way as well.
I don't think I've experienced this one. A friend hasn't tried to change me, I feel, and I haven't tried to change a friend. But I feel like you see this a lot in movies where it's the stereotypical, like, let's say, ugly loser in high school, and then, like, let's say the popular girl or guy tries to, like, change them, and then they try to change themselves to fit in their barkada, something like that. So yeah, you see this around, and I feel like this works two ways, no? Like, sometimes, like, for example, let's say the cooler person is trying to, like, mold you to fit his circle, and you're also kind of trying to, like, you aspire to be one of them.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to change. It's wrong when you feel pressured to change. I guess that's what it is. So if you yourself want to become cooler, want to become better, want to become more like your friend, then by all means that's fine. But if your friend is forcing you to be more like them when you don't want to, then that's wrong.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so next is there's always drama. So they either create drama or attract drama into their lives.
Okay. definitely have a couple of people that I can think of that, yeah, there's just drama nonstop in their lives.
Yeah. I've had friends who, I don't know why, like, it's not a dramatic situation, and they create drama out of it.
No, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think for me, like, it's when they get into fights often, or they always have beef with someone. Like, what gives? Why are you always fighting with someone? Why is there always somebody that you're opposing? Why can't you just be in harmony with people?
Yeah.
So I feel like these kind of people, I don't know, I think they're just too, like, they get a little thrill out of it, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they won't admit to that. They won't admit that there's, like, a little thrill to the drama. I mean, I've seen people air their laundry, okay, their dirty laundry, on Instagram stories and Instagram posts. That's, like, the height of drama.
Oh my God, yeah.
When you do that, that's already, like, you're announcing to the world, hey, look, I have beef with this person. And I'm, like, publicly denouncing that person. I mean, come on. Settle things behind closed doors. Don't be so dramatic.
Yeah. It's like, even if a fight was private, they really make it public. And it's like they thrive on the attention. Like, they like when people give them, like, sympathy, or they like the people are giving them, like, fuel to the fire. Maybe they feel some sense of importance or
entitlement.
Yeah. My sister has a friend who always seems to have something dramatic happen to her. And at first, you feel sorry for this friend. Like, there seems to be, like, a lot of bad things happening to her. But then you realize, like, she's kind of creating the situations that would, like, cause, other problems to just, like, snowball. So, for example, let's say she has a problem with her love life. But it's because, in the first place, she picked this kind of person. So there are really people who are, they have a shit life. And I'm sorry, but, like, lots of shit happens to them. But then there are also some people where shit happens to them, but what do you expect? You chose this. Okay, so next is when you feel uncomfortable around them, or they make you feel uncomfortable or nervous, or, like, their behavior in general is unpredictable.
Yeah, okay, experienced that too. So there was this guy in school and claimed to be my friend and everything, but, like, you never know what he would do next. You never know what he was thinking. And there were moments where I feel like he just behaved unruly and he did things that were just uncalled for, So I felt uncomfortable being around him sometimes.
Yeah, I have had a couple of friends who, like, their behavior was unpredictable in a way where sometimes they were always happy, sometimes they were sassy, sometimes they were, like, irritable. So you'd have to kind of, like, be careful and adjust your behavior to their moods. And I've since then tried to stay away from those types, especially the ones where you're nervous to be around them because you don't know how they're going to react. Like, if I say this, are they going to blow up at me? Are they going to laugh? It's like you're kind of, I guess, always anticipating how they're going to react, and then you have to, like, adjust your behavior according to that. So yeah, I felt conscious about, like, my actions, my words, my behavior, and it really was not, like, a good place to be. So yeah, I've kind of let go, or kind of distanced myself from my friends who are like that. Next is when they gossip regularly or they break your trust.
Yeah, I have had experience with that, and actually it's funny because at the time I didn't even know it. I found out years later when I was already, like, distant from that particular friend, and I'd hear like things about what that friend would say about me, things they'd say to people that I didn't even know, and it just feels like really bad. And then like I that same person and multiple people, they talk bad about others to me. So of course you'd think like you're talking shit about people that I know, my other friends, right? So what's to say you're not talking shit about me to others? It's safe to assume that you do the same.
Yeah.
And true enough, it happened, and it happens, and it happens, and that's why I don't keep those kind of people near me, because I rather have somebody that they can respect me, even if we don't talk much. They respect me from a distance, whatever. And when we do talk, it's all positive, it's all catching up, it's all, a lot of trust, you're comfortable talking to each other. But if it's going to be somebody that's just gossiping and spreading, the worst is spreading misinformation about you, then I'd say that person should just not be part of your life.
Yeah. That reflects more on the person who's gossiping than it does about you. I haven't experienced it as much, but I do have a lot of friends who gossip. I just and sometimes it's very tempting to engage in it. Like sometimes I do, especially if it's a catch-up session. I haven't talked to my friends in, let's say, a couple of months. I haven't seen my friends, and when we meet up after talking about each other, sometimes we talk about other people. But I think there's a difference between talking about like other people and gossiping, like borderline spreading rumors, because you can argue that like gossip is harmful, but when you're with like really close friends and like sometimes I just want to chica with you, I don't think that's really bad, right? Like there was a lot of times we gossip. I mean, like I tell you things and you tell me things, so that's kind of like chica.
Yeah, of course. No, I agree. But sometimes when the gossip turns, like what you said, rumors, but not just rumors, like even if it's true, if it's something very sensitive, like sensitive information that you're passing around, I don't think that's really nice.
So maybe the difference would be like, are you talking about it to like your close trusted friends, or are you kind of just like telling every single person you meet about like a gossip that you heard?
Yeah, I guess, but I think more along the lines like, okay, let's say you heard something, and this something has nothing to do with you, or nothing to do with your friend. It's just something, right? But it's something very sensitive. Then, I don't know, is it in your right to be talking to someone about the sensitive information? Like for me, when I talk about other people in general, it's usually something positive. Like I feel like I don't talk smack about people. I don't try to make them look bad or make them feel low or anything. I always just talk like, oh, look, these two people got married, or no, these two people had a kid, like positive things, But when it's like something like, oh, this like whatever, this person cheated on someone else, like I feel like I rather not like talk about those things. It's really not my priority.
Yeah. Or I guess like reserve it for like your very small trusted circle.
Exactly. Like, okay, like you can say like, oh, look, those two guys cheated, right? Like, oh, wow, okay. But it doesn't have to be told to every single person, because, that might be something very private, very sensitive to the couple that broke up, right?
Okay, moving on. They rarely apologize.
Yeah, so like we were talking about earlier, every time you try to point out their mistakes, point out their flaws, and they kind of just give a half-assed sorry.
Yeah, or sorry, but...
Yeah, exactly. So they don't actually think they did anything wrong, or the worst is they don't actually want to change. They don't think they should change, and sometimes they even twist it and blame it on you, blame it on how you're feeling, saying that you're too sensitive, and I think that's already borderline gaslighting. So for me, if you have somebody who can't, like if you have a friend who can't own up to their own mistakes and to their own demons, then that person shouldn't be your friend.
Yeah, agree. Next is when they constantly put you down, or they tease or insult you regularly.
Yeah.
I have had a lot of friends like these, actually. I mean, it's passed off as a joke, like, they're joking and stuff, but then I guess for me, I'm very sensitive to words. I guess it's because like my love language is words of affirmation. Okay, so it's like validating words. And when I hear something that's negative, it kind of stings more than anything else. And it's something, I don't know, like for me, I find it so concrete that I will remember that. That's also not to say that I'm very self-absorbed, like when it comes to compliments, like I always want to be complimented. No, it's fine. Like I don't need the compliments all the time. It's just like insulting is another thing.
Is another thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and especially when it's something uncalled for, like
Yeah,
an
yeah.
uncalled comment. I've had experiences like that. In fact, the worst is I've had experiences where the same guy I mentioned earlier, he'd insult me and say things like, back in high school, it was very common to say, "Oh, he's gay" and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, he'd say stuff like that about me to others, and it got to a point where it really affected me mentally. Like I was feeling really bad about it, and I realized that maybe it was less because he was my friend and more because he was threatened or jealous of
Mhm.
of who I was.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like that can also be an issue. Like sometimes when your friends are actually not really your friends, but they're more like they're competing with you, they want to make you feel lower than them. So in front of others or to your face, they will try to always make you look like the lesser person.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that's awful because you're in a friendship because you want to be equal with your friend. You don't want to just like tell them like, okay, like why are you mistreating me, or why is there like a power play between us, right? So yeah, in my opinion, I think that you should always have a friend that's someone who always bring you up,
Mm.
positive comments, positive reinforcement, not negative comments, insults, or gossip about you behind your back.
Yeah, I have so many friends like these. I lost touch with them, but a lot of them were like they were mean, but they disguised it as humor, and it was always like comments about physical appearance, stuff like that. Like let's say they teased me about let's say my skin or my hair or my whatever my clothes, and it's kind of like you laugh it off, you laugh with them about it, but there's that twinge, like even if it is funny, there's like that little thing inside you that kind of just
A
like
little ouch.
yeah. Anyway, they're gone. Next one is they're often jealous of your other friends, or like they're obsessively needy.
Okay, so this is a different kind of friendship, I'd say. Like it's a friend that is possessive.
Yeah, that
That
one.
Yeah, so someone who's like possessive over you and possessive over who you hang out with,
Yeah.
or even possessive over, like, I don't know if this has happened with you, but possessive over who you date and how much time you spend with that person you're dating.
I have not experienced that.
Well, like I guess a perfect example would be what's her name from You?
Joe?
No, Joe is the guy. The one in the first season, the girl, the name of the actress? The Filipina actress.
Ah, Peach.
Peach, that one. So Peach, Shay Mitchell, she was a very possessive friend, and she'd always criticize like who the other girl was hanging out with and stuff. And it was awful, right? And you could see like the thing is, the funny thing there is she had a toxic boyfriend and a toxic friend at the same time.
Yeah.
So they were like both competing with each other and both trying to like possess the girl. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know if I've had that experience in my life. I've probably had early on, like early high school. Not so much later in my later years, I think when you grow older, you kind of like say, okay, you can do your own thing. But I think this is a very early, young adult phase where friends are like, okay, you gotta spend more time with me. Okay,
Yeah.
what, you're hanging out with that person? No, spend time with me. Or they get jealous over who you hang out with and stuff. So
Yeah.
I've had that experience. I've had friends, so-called friends, that they say, oh, you shouldn't hang out with that person because that person's blah blah blah, and then they talk smack about that person sometimes. So yeah, in my experience, it's never nice. And your friends shouldn't control who you see or how you spend your time, and you shouldn't be limited to one best friend. You should have a multitude of friends that you want to spend time with, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to have that kind of like respect and say, okay, like this is what it is, right?
Okay. Next is when they secretly copy you, which you already talked about, but maybe you can talk about that experience more.
Yeah. Secretly copy you. So it's really funny. I had this guy. I don't know why he looked up to me a lot, and at the time, I thought I was like, that's a nice feeling, right? You have a guy who's your friend who really looks up to you, and there was a lot of respect. We liked each other a lot, and next thing you know, he's attending acting school like me. Okay, and I'm like, okay, cool. He's kind of copying what I'm doing, but okay, cool. Next thing you know, he's practicing the same lines as me. And practicing, like, I think it was the Joker monologue, the Heath Ledger Joker. And I'm like, okay, sure, go ahead. Next thing you know, he's asking my girlfriend out. Okay, and my ex-girlfriend, and next thing you know, they're dating. So it's like, okay, like, dude, like, okay, one thing was look up to me, and one thing is to like want to be me and have everything I have. And
Yeah,
literally,
yeah.
he ended up dating my girlfriend, and yeah, since then, of course, I haven't been friends with him or my ex, but that was for me really ugly. And that's not just happened once, but that's happened with another person too. And I started to notice it later on that, yeah, he'd start to copy what I say, or like, for example, whenever we were in a group chat, you know, if there was any disagreement, and then I voice in my opinion, and then he's like, oh yeah, I agree with Arion, or I agree with Arion, right? And then the worst was like, okay, like, again, it's happened again with the girlfriend thing, and that's when I like drew the line. Like I said, okay, I'm not gonna make the same mistake. So apparently, like, so he'd actually message my girlfriend from time to time, and the thing, my girlfriend wouldn't like give him the time of day. And when we finally broke up, me and my girlfriend, he actually went behind my back, messaged her, and asked her out, and on top of that, insulted who I was currently dating. So I was like, what the hell, man? Like, how dare you? You know, like, okay, you like my girlfriend, you like my ex-girlfriend, but you shouldn't do that. That's not right anymore. You know, there's a little bit of a bro code. So anyway, and then the guy still calls me his best friend now and then, but I haven't spoken to him since, because I just feel like, I don't know, like, for me, I'm just completely turned off by that. And when I found out that he was talking to my ex in private behind my back and talking shit about who I was dating, and on top of that, flirting with my ex and asking my ex out, that was just, I said, no way, I'm not going to be friends with this guy anymore.
Can I just say it? Like that, the person he was talking shit about was me.
Yeah, it was a recent thing, and I just felt like I felt so angry when I heard. So I haven't spoken to him since. Maybe it's bad of me because I've kind of ghosted him. I haven't actually confronted him with this information because I don't like to start drama. But at the same time, I feel like it's a waste of time because he's just gonna come up with an excuse or something. And honestly, the damage is done. Like, for me, the damage is completely done. Like, that was a line you shouldn't have crossed.
Yeah. Hey. Stress. Okay.
Stress.
Next is when you feel trapped or obligated to be their friend. So, for example, this is kind of like emotional abuse, I would say. So, for example, like, let's say they make jokes about hurting themselves if you weren't there, or like, let's say they act different when you're in public versus when you're in private, or let's say they kind of test your friendship, like, prove to me that we really are friends, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or when they
guilt trip you.
yeah, when they guilt trip you and they make it seem like you're the one with the problem, something like that. I haven't tried this yet.
But I think you have a friend who kind of guilt trips you from time to time. I don't want to say who, but like, I've seen it happen.
She doesn't really guilt trip me.
Yeah, but like, she tells you like, but you didn't get me a gift, and then you're like obligated to get her. You see, it's that obligation again.
Yeah, but it's not obligated to be their friend. I don't feel obligated to be their friend. It's more like obligated to give them what they want.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Like, obligated to be your friend is, for example, like, let's say, you know, if you weren't my friend, I'd kill myself. That kind of thing. And then it's kind of like, oh crap, like, I can't leave you. Or it's like, please don't leave me, I'm super depressed, I can't do this without you. Yeah, so I feel like this is the kind of friendship where you have to like prove your worthiness of the friendship.
Yeah, no, I haven't experienced that either, I think. But well, maybe kind of experienced it now that I'm looking back. The same guy who copied me and everything, the first one, you know, he'd say things like, for example, you know, oh yeah, we're you know, we're true friends, like, we share everything, you know, blah blah blah. And I think at one point he even said we share girls. I'm like, excuse me. And then he ended up trying to get my girlfriend. So
but
that's
how is
what
this
happened,
obligation?
Right? I don't know, but he'd say, I don't know, like, he'd say this in front of people, like,
weird.
as if we were so tight. And I don't know, there was like this kind of like, okay, why are you saying things like that? Like, in deep down, I'm like, no. But for him, it's like, yeah, you know, like, we're that close, right?
Yeah. I have, okay, fine. I haven't experienced it, but I have a friend. He was in a relationship, so this isn't friendship, this is relationship na. But his girlfriend then, I guess, was depressed, and he felt like he had to be in the relationship, otherwise she'd harm herself if he left.
Damn,
So yeah,
bad.
so like, he really could not break up.
That's so bad.
So yeah, that is being trapped and obligated. Yeah, so we're almost done. Just three more. So next one is they are overly negative and pessimistic, and they make you feel worse, not better. I have had a lot of friends like this.
Hmm. Like we said, like going back
It's
to
really
the
a
drama
trigger thing,
thing, there's
right?
always a drama, right? But also, aside from the drama, they never look at the positive things in life. They never really talk about the positive things that happen with them. They
Yeah.
kind of just focus on the negative and focus on, like, they have a very loser mentality. They're always thinking that they're not good enough and stuff like that. And no matter how much you hype them, no matter how much you tell them, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, they don't take that. They don't absorb any of your positive energy, and instead they just radiate more negative energy to you, and then you feel like crap afterwards.
Yeah. Oh God, I have had so much, not so much how, but like, I've had a couple of friends, and like, since then, we haven't really been friends. But it's kind of annoying because, like, if you feel bad about yourself, fine. But don't make me feel bad about myself, like, as if we were going through this together. You know, like, okay, you think that way about yourself, but like, don't bring me into that. For example, if you say like, I'm such a loser, that if you think I'm such a loser, don't tell me like, yeah, we're such losers. Like, don't bring me into that. Like, fine, you know, if you think that way
Yeah,
about
yeah,
yourself,
yeah.
then fine, whatever. But like, I don't know, like, don't say
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly.
loser. Yeah, this is such a trigger topic. Next one is when they're bad influences or when they peer pressure you into doing things that you don't want to do.
Yeah, and no, and it kind of goes back to like when they try to change you. So again, they're peer pressuring you because they want you to be more like them, and if they have vices that you do not want to do, then
They're
and they
kind of
don't respect that.
uncool.
Exactly. No, I think that's awful. I had a friend, and this is actually a good example. I had a friend who he liked to do weed a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time I was like really like I'm not into this. And the nice thing about this friend is not once did he pressure me to take it. I just told him I don't, and he's like, okay. So we'd go in the car. And sometimes he's like, hey, you don't mind if I smoke a blunt? I'm like, yeah, sure. And he wouldn't even say, you want? You know, he never even asked me if I wanted because I already told him I didn't want to try it.
Yeah.
He just said, when you want to try it, let me know, right?
Yeah,
So he
that's
says,
nice.
I'll just open the window, okay? So that I wouldn't get like the fumes or anything. So on top of that, he opens the window, he takes a blunt, but he completely respected that I didn't want to do those things. So that was a good example of a good friend. And I've had examples of bad friends before where they just offer me all these really bad things and, you know, oh, drink more, take this, take that. And I would say, nope, 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 nope.
Yeah, I've had a couple of friends. I don't know if they're alcoholics, but they literally drink every other day or every day, something like that. And they'd always ask me like if I wanted to drink with them, and I'm like, no, like I have better things to do. And then they'd kind of guilt trip me, like as if I didn't want to hang out with them and stuff. Yeah, I kind of also ghosted them, which is bad on my part, but I didn't find a point of like trying to rekindle the friendship if all we were gonna do anyway was drink. So yeah, yeah, I'm really thankful for my friends who they have their vices, but they don't pressure me into that. Okay, so we're down to our last one. So this the last sign of a toxic friendship is when you feel used. So when you feel like you're giving more than you're getting, or when you just feel like there's no reciprocity in your friendship. I mean, you know, sometimes there are phases where one friend needs more than the other, but if in the long run it's this big imbalance of you just giving, 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 that is not sustainable. So, have you experienced this?
Absolutely. Like for me, Ariane, can I stay over your house? Ariane, can I
Oh my
borrow
gosh, I
your
know this
things?
friend.
Ariane, can I, borrow some cash? Ariane, can you do this for me? There was even one time where I was completely sick. I had a fever. Ariane, can you come down and help me, get a taxi and stuff? And I was like in bed, like completely bad. Anyway, for me, I've had experiences of friends like that, multiple, not just one, but multiple. And yeah, I do feel used. Like I don't feel the same effort from their end.
Mm.
Hey, Ariane, come to my house, or Ariane, let me give you a ride. You know, it's the opposite. It's more like Ariane, give me a ride. Ariane, let me use your house. Ariane, let's do something that you have to sacrifice more. So yeah, for me, I don't know. I've had really bad experiences in that aspect, and that's why I do not keep friends like that anymore.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I feel like for friends like these, it's kind of it works both ways, because like I've had friends like these, but when I say it works both ways, I guess it's because like we also don't communicate. Like sometimes we allow them to step on us. Like we don't give them a hard no. And sometimes they are really pushy, but then we don't like fight back. We're kind of just like, oh, like fine, I'll do it, but I'm not really happy. Kind of like that.
No, the thing is that, like, in the beginning, like, I'm a very hospitable person, so like I always like to give. I like to cook for my friends. I like to invite them over. You can stay over as long as you want. But then there comes a point where, like, okay, I'm doing all these things, but then you're not reciprocating anything, like as in anything.
Mm.
Like, Ariane, let me invite you for dinner. You've been such a good host, right? Something like that. Or Ariane, here's a gift, Ariane. I'm not a gift person, but these are like little details, little things that you show gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, when you do something for someone and they don't express gratitude, that's when I feel I'm being used.
Yeah.
Because it's expected.
Mm-mm.
And
they're
that's the
entitled
thing.
to it.
Exactly, you're not entitled to it. It's not expected. I am being a generous host. I'm being a generous person with you, and you should be a little more grateful.
Mm-hmm.
You dumb shit. Right? So what the hell, like, don't think that you can just get whatever you want, right? I'm being generous here and you are just being entitled about it. Then no, hell no. You show some gratitude. So yeah, for me, I've experienced that many times, and I am totally, like, again, I've cut off all people that have been like that with me.
Well, we reached the end of our like signs of a toxic friendship.
So anyway, so we've touched up on all the signs of a toxic friendship, and we've also shared some personal experiences about how we've dealt with toxic friends before. And you can tell it's not a very positive thing. So guys, I hope you use this information, and I hope you see the signs yourself. And if you have a toxic friend, either you communicate with that person, try to like tell them, look, this is not happening, this is not good for me right now, it's not working, right? Or you cut that person off, because sometimes it's very difficult to change a person. And yeah, don't think that your friendships end with that person. There's so many wonderful people in the world, people who are more generous, people who are more compassionate, and people who actually want to be your friend because they like you as a person, not because they want to use you or anything. So go out there, make new friends. There's so many people out there in the world, and don't stick with the lousy, toxic friends who never prioritize you.
Yeah, I feel like maybe first you can try to fix it, and I guess focus on like what you can do yourself. Like, do you need to establish boundaries? Do you need to speak up for yourself more? Do you have to have a conversation, like a hard conversation about like how their behavior makes you feel? And I guess if there is no change after that, then you really have every right to just leave it. You don't really owe them an explanation. Like, you feel bad for not giving it, and they might want one, and you might want to give them one. But then, if you really don't feel the friendship anymore, then just walk away.
All right. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It's a little different from what we're used to, right? And yeah, guys, try to keep a positive outlook on life. Not everything is toxic, not everything's bad. And try to find and stick with the people that are really good to you. That's the most important thing. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching and listening. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We will see you in the next one. I'm Arion.
I'm DANI.
And this was Love and Confetti. Bye.